Could you describe a recent situation where you felt your leadership team or that of your client's leadership team could have benefited from additional training or guidance in culture building, leadership, or both?
Oh, yes, most definitely. In the most recent company where I was hired to, well, basically drive through some changes when a big Finnish company bought up a smaller Swedish company, and they needed someone to kind of facilitate, getting all the Finnish ideas of how things should be run into the Swedish company. And the thing is that the Swedish CEO who sold his company to the Finnish organization is a ruler of fear and control. So naturally, all of his managers are, not used to speak out. They're not used to lead with coaching. They're also leading with more control and, well, negative ways of leading workforces. And I also managers that were participating in bullying and name calling and really, really bad ways of managing a company, and managers badly, poorly handling people in general. So here was a very big challenge to, first of all, before we could do anything to implement the values and the culture from the Finnish company, we need to, clean up what's not working in-house. But yeah, that was easier than done. The CEO had meetings with me, and he understood what we needed to change and what we needed to do. The group of managers did as well. But after we've come, say, almost to the finish line of most of the hard work we had to do in the beginning to kind of start speaking honestly to each other, understanding what's not okay on a workplace and what will be the benefits of doing things differently, then they fired. And the reason for that was the fear of the CEO. He knew he needed to change, but there was not anything in his 70-year-old head that could change.
Okay, I get it, I think.
So my lesson being that sometimes, even though you do your best and you can see that you get change takes time, and sometimes you'll hit a wall. I would say that I've very rarely in my career met those walls. There's normally a way around them, but this time it wasn't. But I'm not sure that is a great answer to your question, but that's the most tricky thing I had to do in the last few years, where there were a very strong need to educate both the CEO and the managers in order to get things done. So I sent 4 out of 6 group managers to different leaderships, educations. And I'm quite sure that even if they don't have me there anymore, at least the managers personnel. So I feel like on a group level, on like the first grassroots level of the company, things have started to change, and that's a very good feeling to leave it with. And I'm also happy that the CEO will probably be in pension in like 1 year, so there's hope for them yet.
Great. Actually, I think that's a good answer for a lot of reasons. One of them be, you go to, online seminars and everybody's awesome. All they've done is said hi and you're giving them a high five. That's not the reality of business. That's not the reality of the universe in life. Sometimes, regardless of the effort you put in, it doesn't work out perfect, or it just utterly fails. It's not a question, and it's not personal, and that's hard to accept. But it's not personal when things outside of your control don't go the way you want them to or the way you'd hoped they would, but that's life. So actually,
Yeah.
I like your answer. I think it's fantastic, and it touched on a lot of the things that are a common theme even so far, even though done, and that is that change tends to need to be in bite-sized pieces. It needs to be gradual. What you talked about, all I'm thinking is I have these psychological safety alarms going off. It's like nobody felt safe.
No, nobody.
Probably including the CEO, because he didn't feel safe to say things like, I don't know, which
Precisely.
last time I
It,
checked, know everything.
and in general, I would say that leadership, that the ones that lead with control, they do it because of fear. They have like a chaotic inner self, which they feel very insecure with. And the only way for them to kind of keep that in check is to control and to everyone else.
Right? It's like an ongoing imposter syndrome kind of behavior.
Yeah.
It's like, if anybody actually finds out that I don't know, I have to make them too afraid to test me. Like
To ask
what I
me,
talked
yeah,
about,
precisely.
yeah, what I talked about doing in the classroom. Fortunately, in that particular setting, their rank doesn't matter, because I have a rank of my own in that context. They might be the top person in tree, and some of them were in their thing, but they're not the top person in the room in English. But it was actually really great, because I was able to take one of the most senior people in the room, let them know it's okay and that you have to speak English, it's not optional, and that it's okay if you don't know. I usually start my classes by having them in this context speak Japanese. But I would have you, if we were in a training and you were one of my students for whatever reason, I would have you ask me a question either in any language that I don't speak, or a question you're certain I don't know the answer to. If I know it, I'll try to answer it. But my purpose isn't to answer the question, is to show I don't know that. I don't know anything about accounting. I don't really know anything about I'm sorry, I don't speak Swedish or Finnish or German or any of the many languages. So just the idea to remove the fear of the words, I don't know, I'm not sure, is a big thing. And once I established that within a group, it took a long time, but that one person who felt shy about basically being not the smartest person in the room to their seniors in something they did better than them, once he started to feel safe with that, his English immediately improved, and he realized nobody was condemning him for not being good at English. It's not what he's an expert at. Everybody doesn't know something. So
I
listing number.
think that that is probably why I also feel it's very important that managers can own up to failures, because of course we won't do everything
Mhm.
right, and sometimes we fail, and if we are the one people looking up to, it needs to be important that we can own up to our own failures and
Right.
change to the better for the next time, because that will enable what you're describing here, someone else actually daring to do the same thing with, say, their
Yes.
clients or the projects or whatever.
Right. I need help. So, and that's why I like your answer too. It's not only the reality of life, like Ray Dalio, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but he's a god of business and finance and wisdom, as far as I'm concerned, talks about it all the time, that you need to be able to do things like that, to be able to admit that you don't know, or not everything works out perfectly. And only under that environment are you going to get people saying, excuse me, boss, please don't beat me, but you're wrong about that because A, B, and C. Within the context of Bridgewater Associates, he's retired now, but in the company he founded and ran, Bridgewater Associates, you were contractually obligated to object if you had credible reason for doing so. So you could be the janitor and you could be fired for telling Ray Dalio, or not telling Ray Dalio he's wrong because you happen to be a gemologist in your spare time, and you know that what they're saying about that mineral company is completely false because it's literally impossible. You have to put up your hand or you might be fired for not saying it, if and only if you have credible knowledge. And that's amazing. That goes through Netflix. That was the case at Toy Story or something comparable, where Ed Catmull said, if the most powerless or the lowest ranking person in the room feels unsafe to raise an objection, you fail.
Yeah,
Love that.
I agree.
So next one.
100%.
Genius book. He just redid the Creativity Inc. And anytime there's an update from books like that, I make sure to listen to the update, the newest version. This one is